Welcome back to the evolution of Formula One, the ultimate pit stop for everything Formula One. It's 1950, Britain is recovering from the aftermath of World War II, rock and roll is just on the horizon, and Formula One is about to be born. Welcome to the first ever Formula One World Championship race, the 1950 British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Buckle up, because we're diving into the history books to uncover all the details of the drivers and teams who entered the first ever Formula One race. The circuit. The track is a simple ex-airfield, mostly flat with sharp corners that demand precision and bravery. Though one might argue there's not much else to distract the drivers, except perhaps the cows and sheep. Yes, folks, this legendary track was basically an old airstrip that had been repurposed after World War II. Hardly the Monaco of today, but it still managed to attract one of the most eclectic grids of drivers ever seen in F1 history. The circuit measured 4.71 kilometers. 2.927 miles, and included newly outlined corners marked by oil drums to prevent drivers from shortcutting the track. This configuration retained the high-speed nature of the airfield, but introduced more technical challenges. The cars. Now let's talk about the machines. The cars were totally different. No fancy aerodynamics or hybrid engines. This was raw mechanical racing. Most of the cars entered were pre-war racing cars that were tuned up again for Grand Prix and the Formula One in the post-war era. There were several teams in the mix, but the big names were Alfa Romeo and Maserati. Alfa Romeo had the famous Alfetta 158, and Maserati had the 4CL and the 4CLT/48 cars. There were also some British entries in the form of English Racing Automobiles who had 4 cars racing. Alta were also a British car and engineering company involved. Joe Kelly, an Irish racer, bought an Alta GP car and raced it in this British Grand Prix as a privateer. Geoffrey Taylor, founder of Alta, raced the other Alta GP car. Then you had Talbot Lago from France, who had 5 cars in the race. But the real stars of the show? The Alfa Romeo 158, a 1.5-litre, straight 8-engine powerhouse. This was the car that would dominate the race. The Alfa Romeos were seriously overpowered compared to their competition. The car weighed only about 700 kilograms, and with 190 horsepower on tap, it was the ultimate beast on the track. But what made the 1950s racing scene even more fascinating was how different each driver approached the race. All in all, there were 2 Italian teams, 2 British teams, and 1 French team. Amazingly, Ferrari had no cars in the very first Formula One Grand Prix, as Enzo Ferrari withdrew his cars. He was unhappy with the pay the teams would receive for the event, and so decided it wasn't worthwhile. The drivers. Let's start with the obvious, the man to watch, Giuseppe Nino Farina. The Italian driver had years of experience with Alfa Romeo, and his connection to the team was essential to their dominance. Farina had a reputation for being a smooth operator, no drama, no over-aggressive moves, he was in it to win it. But don't forget, Farina wasn't the only heavy hitter. Luigi Fagioli was the second driver for Alfa Romeo, and believe it or not, he was 52 years old, an amazing competitor. And let's not forget the suddenly famous Juan Manuel Fangio. Oh yes, the maestro was there too, and boy did he have the calm, steady nerves that would define his legendary career. These 3 Alfa Romeo drivers were known as the 3 Fs. There was also the home favourite, Reg Parnell, who raced for Alfa Romeo as a special guest in this race. In total, there were 24 entries, however. After qualifying, only 21 drivers actually raced on race day. There were 9 British drivers, 5 French drivers, 2 Italian drivers, 1 Argentinian driver, 1 Thailand driver, 1 Swiss driver, 1 Irish driver, and 1 driver from Monaco on the day. The race. Okay, now to the start of the race. The track is surrounded with 200,000 excited fans waving their tweed caps, and the air is filled with buzzing from the hum of engines. The 4 Alfa Romeo cars all lined up at the top of the grid after qualifying. As the lights went out, Nino Farina rocketed off the line. He led the race for the first 9 laps, but this wasn't going to be a walk in the park. Luigi Fagioli, also driving for Alfa Romeo, was pushing hard. He was in second place for much of the early part of the race, battling fiercely against Farina, and creating the tension we all know and love today. He managed to lead the race for 5 laps in the early part of the race. But wait, here comes Fangio in the other Alfa Romeo. He gained the lead on lap 15. He was keeping his head cool while others, like Reg Parnell, tried to push too hard. Fangio wasn't in a race of pure speed. He was all about strategy. He was in the hunt, but not too aggressive. Drama struck for Fangio, though, as he ran into some engine trouble. He limps back to the pits with an oil leak, but he stays going for 62 laps. That was as far as he got, though, as he had to retire the car. The car of Alberto Ascari, one of the favourites, just can't hold off Farina. He led again in lap 38, but Farina then took over the lead for the rest of the race. And that was the story of the race. Despite all the challenges, Nino Farina remains unshaken, and as the laps ticked down, he extended his lead. By the time the checkered flag waved, Farina had claimed victory, making history as the first ever Formula One race winner. And guess what? The top three were all dominated by Alfa Romeo. Reg Parnell finished third, keeping the British fans happy in the end. Out of the 21 drivers who started the race, only 12 drivers finished the race. Most retirements were due to engine and transmission issues. Although spare a thought for poor Prince Bira of Thailand, whose Maserati ran out of fuel on lap 49, and he had to retire from the race. Back then, only the top 5 drivers received points, with the winner receiving a mere 9 points, compared to today's haul of 25 points. So, one for the pub quiz. Now you know, Giuseppe Nino Farina won the first ever Formula One World Championship race. Alfa Romeo walked away with the bragging rights of having an iron grip on the top spots, and the race proved that strategy, reliability, and experience were key factors. And that, my friends, is the first ever Formula One race. Sure, it didn't have the glitz and glamour of Monaco, albeit King George VI and Queen Elizabeth themselves turned up to this one to join the spectators. The cars were, let's face it, not the sleek machines we have today, but it was the birth of something magical. A new chapter in motorsport had begun. What do you think? Did you expect the first race to be this much of a mix of drama, strategy, and some downright dodgy engineering? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more historical breakdowns, deep dives, and F1 analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the track.